Today is our 5th annual Tech Day 2025. If you wanted to go ahead and in the chat, write a little note telling us where you're joining us from or letting us know which department you work with and for. We are very excited. The IT Teaching and Learning Services has been bringing you Tech Day now for its 5th year, and it is a wonderful opportunity today. We are having a packed session. You'll notice that at different points, you will see 3 options for your sessions throughout the day. There's also an app. We have live demos of the different AI tools that you and your students and platforms have access to. We have practical sessions for you to engage and practice and start producing some materials that you can use. And then also today we have different use cases from different classrooms, different faculty, and different perspectives on how to use AI tools. We're going to start off with a little bit about WebEx events. If you're new to the platform, and everybody is today, because it's the first time anyone at URI is using this virtual conference platform. It is called WebEx Events, and we are very excited to be the first ones at URI. It is available to anyone at URI. If you are interested, submit a ticket. We'll learn how to navigate the system, and then we're going to have some opening remarks from our CIO, Gabriel Forelli, and then we will also be going through what we have in your URI toolbox. Then we will hear from a couple of different faculty and support staff on using AI. If you haven't met our CIO and AVP of IT, Gabriel, he is here with us this morning, and he is prepared to share a few comments with you with his experience, not only in IT, but with some of the precursors to AI as well. So we are very excited that he is on board with us today. All right, Gabriel, you are live.
Hello, everybody. I don't know if you got my slide on the next one. There we are. So thank you, everybody. I'm excited to have everybody here. I think today is going to be truly an exciting day. So welcome. This is, I believe, the 5th annual Tech Day. I want to thank Subek, the grad student CS, who was instrumental and did the heavy lifting for WebEx. I definitely want to thank Dr. Amanda Jensen, who did all the heavy lifting for the organizing and getting us prepped up. I want to also thank Dr. Michelle Rogers, who started this in 2020 and has been instrumental in ensuring its success. It looks like each year we've had hundreds of participants. This is a collaborative effort across multiple groups in IT, as well as individuals across the university itself. It is an all-day event with multiple tracks. I hope you've had a chance to look at them and pick the ones that are most interesting to you. And if you're unaware, this year's theme is AI in the classroom. So I just wanted to spend a little bit of a moment talking about what is AI, and I'm sure that you'll probably hear multiple definitions for artificial intelligence throughout the day. For those of you who don't know, I did teach the survey course in machine learning and artificial intelligence at Harvard. My background is in computational sciences. I've been using machine learning and artificial intelligence for more years than I care to admit here, back from when the days when they didn't work well at all to more recent advances. The last time I taught, though, however, was 2019, the fall, which might as well have been, 150 years ago if it were the medical equivalent. So things have changed so fantastically rapidly, and all of you, I'm sure, have noticed that. Artificial intelligence is not something particularly new. It's been around for 3/4 of a century as a defined discipline. As a matter of fact, we could say that it was launched by Alan Turing's seminal paper, Computing Machinery and Intelligence, in 1950, where he famously asked, "Can machines think?" Very shortly thereafter, John McCarthy from Stanford in 1955 or 56, around that area, put forward the first definition of artificial intelligence. And soon thereafter, the first AI conference in 1956 famously happened at Dartmouth College, right here in New England, where about a dozen and a half individuals who would be in the research field that was being created at the time got together to have a very fruitful event. Arthur Samuel in, I think, 1959 first attempted to define machine learning, and it's since been refined multiple times. If you take a machine learning class, you'll probably be taught Tom Mitchell's definition from 1997, but for many years I used to tell folks, if you want to start a religious war, have a ardent conversation, go to NeurIPS, which is largely considered the preeminent conference for artificial intelligence, and attempt to define rigorously either machine learning or artificial intelligence. Those of you who are new to the field probably are thinking Gen AI is also something that is only started with the release of large language models, but in fact, generative adversarial networks came about by a young fellow who was then doing his postdoc at MIT, first presented in NeurIPS in 2014. Generative adversarial neural networks, which have nothing to do with what we call Gen AI today, but they were used for image generation and other things. They did not use the same architecture. That was over a decade ago. And then famously, it was Vaswani's paper from Google Research in 2017, All You Need Is Attention, or Attention Is All You Need. And I remember exactly what the title was, Sparked Language Models, which we know today, which is all the rage. And what we look at as language models, such as ChatGPT, are actually multiple models behind the scenes. It's a fascinating field, but it's very fast moving. So what does AI at URI look like? Well, I wanted to make sure everybody here is aware that the provost has an AI advisory council. And we are looking at AI from all aspects. The council is fairly large. Amanda, do you know what is the current membership, roughly? Sorry if I put you on the spot there. But we are exploring all facets of AI at the University of Rhode Island. I want to take a moment here. Oh, there you are.
So the AI Advisory Council is made up of 3 subgroups, and there are at least 8 direct members as well as invitees from across the campus that are involved. So 8 times 3, math is not my strength, is
It's a lot of people.
yes.
And representatives from all aspects of the university.
Yes.
Feel free to reach out to the members of the council. I think Sue Adams is chair. Is that correct?
That is, and I can put the link to the AI website of the provost, which will have more information as well.
Thank you. I think that will be very useful. I also want to take a moment to congratulate our very own Gaurav Khanna. He's professor of physics, and he was recently promoted to assistant vice president for research computing. For those of you who don't know, he sits atop the newly minted Institute for AI and Computational Research. He's been a tremendous asset to the University of Rhode Island's research community. We provide through MGH-PCC, which is the main green facility in Massachusetts, tens of thousands of cores and hundreds of GPUs that are very high end to allow people to do all sorts of extraordinarily interesting things with artificial intelligence, machine learning, as well as traditional computational methods. Feel free to reach out to the Research Computing Group if you have any questions or need help. The community is very vibrant. It is very welcoming. There's lots of documentation on how to use things. And if you're shy about documentation, it also turns out that all the chatbots seem to know really well how to do things in our research computing infrastructure. So please do reach out to them. I also wanted to mention that you'll hear more about this in some of the sessions, but we do have something that we call LibreChat. If you go to librechat.uri.edu, it offers a safer version of language models like OpenAI's Chat GPT and access to Claude's Sonnet models and other models. We're adding models fairly frequently. We're allowing you to pick multiple different versions of those models. For now, this is the recommended way for you to access these models. We understand that it doesn't have some of the functionality that's available if you go to the free versions or some of the paid versions, but it is significantly safer and a cloistered environment where you can use with less concern. I won't say with no concern, but with less concern about what is being done with your data. You can also use Copilot, which offers most of the functionality of ChatGPT, though not quite as laissez-faire. So it's a little bit more guardrailed for you. If you're logged into the URI Microsoft system, so if you signed into single sign-on anywhere and you go use Copilot, that data is secure. It's not used for training. It stays in our enterprise environment, and so it is fairly safe to use for all sorts of information. I do want to dissuade anybody from using ChatGPT or Claude or Copilot, the free version, or your non-enterprise versions, Gemini, etc., for some very good reasons. For example, right now, OpenAI is under litigation with the New York Times, and essentially, if you don't want there to be a possibility that the legal department at New York Times read your chats, which includes if you're paying for Pro or Teams at OpenAI, then you really can't be using that stuff because it is part of discovery. The courts have said they have to retain everything, even if you delete it, or the agreement you have is that it won't be shared. That stuff is now a part of discovery. So be very, very cautious. Don't ever put sensitive information in these chatbots. Do not put things that are covered by FERPA, HIPAA, etc. But other than that, use, wherever possible, use the systems that are offered by the university and stray away from the other systems. I also want to talk a little bit about ITS's perspective on AI. I think I talked a little bit about my background, and Gaurav and his group are perfectly able to help you. We have a number of individuals on my staff who know how to help you get on various parts of infrastructure, provide you with the ability of using and leveraging custom models for all sorts of endeavors. We have the ability to help you figure out how to use chatbots for some idiosyncratic needs. So I want you all to be able to reach out to us. We really want to promote and facilitate responsible use of artificial intelligence at the University of Rhode Island. I think it's not a plausible scenario for us to be resistant to this. We want to make sure that when it is used and how it is used, we lower the entry barrier, but we keep the security and responsible use components to it as high as we can. And then I also wanted to touch briefly, and I know I'm cutting it close on my 15 minutes here, about AI and the various cohorts that make part of our vibrant community. So AI and students are using AI at a tremendous rate. And I think it's incumbent on us to figure out how to try not to stop it, because I keep reading over and over again how universities have tried to prevent students from using artificial intelligence unsuccessfully with non-even implementation of punishment for those who do, and try and figure out how we work with the propensity of students to use these systems, which we can't block. We can't prevent them entirely from using. I also want us to better understand what are the faculty needs, desires, and concerns associated with artificial intelligence. How do we help faculty do their job better, faster, with less concern? How do we enable faculty to do research? There are a number of interesting publications showing that the use of AI, despite many journals saying that you're not allowed to use it, or if you do use it, you have to explicitly state so. It is clear that researchers are, there's an explosion of usage of artificial intelligence in published research. The fascinating studies, many of which have come out in just the past 4 to 5 weeks, show that the frequency with which you see words that are preferred by AI has more than quintupled in quite a number of fields, suggesting that people are using it fairly frequently. So how do we use this effectively? How do we do our research with artificial intelligence, whether it's these large language models or whether it's enabling faculty with less experience to use models that are specifically geared towards their field of research? Those are questions that we would love for you all to explore and talk to us about how we can help. Last but not least, we have some concerns about jobs availability and employers. There was one very recent study that suggested that the unemployment rate for recent grads in computer science from last summer versus the previous summer has almost doubled. And so that there's a huge change in landscape. It's still well below 8% for recent grads, but something that we want to look at. And there are also interesting surveys, no peer-reviewed published research that I could find, but certainly several recent surveys by places like DICE and other employment entities that suggest that employers, particularly in STEM fields, are demanding that even the entry-level positions have significant amount of AI experience, particularly when it comes to coding or other kinds of research associated with jobs that require people to find information online. And so how do we make sure that we're all tooled properly, that when our students graduate, they meet the needs of what's being demanded out in the workforce, but also how we do our jobs day to day in a way that is effective, is responsible, still furthers the learning objectives. How do we teach students to think critically, I think will be tremendously important. And so with that, I'm going to wrap up. I think today is going to be a exciting day, lots of interesting things coming out. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions or my team, and welcome to everybody.
Thank you so much for that, Gabriel. This is a new experience for us all in WebEx, another exciting moment in technology to interact and learn this. So patience today with the navigation of the system. If you experience glitches, know that it happens, as I'm sure you've experienced in your own classrooms and avenues. Thank you so much for sharing that history and the wealth of information that you bring related to IT. Just a few pieces I want to augment that were said is the URI AI toolbox. One of the neat things about the toolbox that we have is you don't have to be as concerned when it comes to security, that they've already been vetted through our system, and using them through single sign-on gives you some more peace of mind about that security level. And as with any technology in use anywhere, specifically, but we're focusing on teaching and learning today, think about your why. What's your purpose of using it? Are you automating processes, making your work more efficient? Are you enhancing the experience of others with the different items you can do? As well as, are you exploring the future and what that might bring? And those are all awesome reasons, and they will help you use it. Gabriel also mentioned about using it responsively. People talk a lot about ethics while it's related, the privacy of data, access of the system to the data that is being used, how long is it stored? Those are just some simple questions, and I'm sure each one of the sessions will have a moment where they talk about certain aspects of the responsible use of whatever tool it is that is being offered. Also, pay attention to your skill level, which includes being kind to yourself. If it's a semester where you're teaching 6 courses, adding a new piece of tech might not be something you choose to indulge in. But at the same time, do you have what you need to do it? Are you willing to be uncomfortable with the unknown in your classroom? At different points, you may be, you may not be. What about your students? Will it benefit them? And can you help with the support for that? And that's one of the things we're excited today, is we get to provide you some support with the various tools that are being offered. So what does this toolbox look like? Gabriel shared a lot of this information. These tools that are on this slide in front of you, Zoom, WebEx, Copilot, Adobe Firefly, and LibreChat, all are free and approved for use on any URI machines through your SSO. Otter AI, there is a free version. It has gone through vetting, but it is not provided. And beware, as Gabriel already mentioned, free versions come with an extra layer of caution about security. And then we have different sessions that will be addressing these. LibreChat is more like, think of libraries, how they have databases of different types of books and resources and articles. LibreChat is a little like that when it comes to artificial intelligence. Through LibreChat, you can access AWS Bedrock. You can access OpenAI, which is a ChatGPT paid version. And then you can do agents and assistants within that. There are 2 sessions throughout the day that address LibreChat, and I believe someone put in the chat the ways to request it. It is available, but it is by request at this point in time. Other tools that have gone through contract approval, that department-specific use cases, special use cases, or available by purchase. These have gone through the vetting and are being used by individuals in very limited instances. Just wanted to put that out there. There is also a list of security vetted machine softwares that can be used on URI computers. And I don't know if someone has access to that link that can put it in the chat for me. But if not, I will provide it later today. Are there any questions that are coming through? The link to the AI toolbox. There is, oh, that's my term for it. It's the softwares that you have access to. What's in your toolbox? What can you pull out of your computer system? We will get you the approved link in a little bit. Let me see. I can actually I can get it to you in a roundabout way, learning the new system. Here we go. I think someone from my team will add it to the group chat that you all can see. Let me navigate back to where you all are. All right. So the ones that are provided by URI, students do have access to Copilot. They can have access to LibreChat available by request, and they have access to Zoom and WebEx. Adobe Firefly is for faculty and staff only. And then outside of that, they may be choosing to do some of the less secure options. All right. So the next part of our opening session is having different individuals from support and instructors sharing. They went through a training that is provided by EDUCAUSE. EDUCAUSE is offering an AI in teaching and learning. Every month, they are offering this 2-week online program with 5 modules that takes about 6 to 10 hours to complete. If it is something you are interested in, it is a very stellar program. And 4 of the individuals, as well as myself, went through that. And we are excited to bring to you some of that going forward. All right, first up, we have Todd. Let me bring him onto the virtual stage.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm Todd Dresser from the Office for the Advancement of Teaching and Learning. I'm going to see if I can share my screen here.
So if you start to share it, then I actually get to move it on screen for you.
Okay. Great. So I think, as someone, my role here at URI is to help instructors become the teachers they want to be in the classroom. And so in that role, I think the number one question that I get presented with is how do I help students develop the academic skills I want them to develop in an age when AI can potentially short circuit their learning, right? And so a tool that I use and what I use the EDUCAUSE course for is to sort of develop a workshop around this is to look at a tool developed by the American Association of Colleges and Universities called Value Rubrics, and they focus on the values that are important to teaching. And you can kind of see these are the 16 different rubrics that are available, and a lot of them sort of map onto things that we all find or many of us find valuable in teaching, things like ethical reasoning, critical thinking, integrative learning, teamwork, those kinds of things, written communication. And these are all the things that a lot of times people are concerned about eroding in the face of AI. And the way that these rubrics were built was between 2007 and 2009. A team of faculty from across the country got together and sort of empirically took a bunch of student work and said, well, what is it? How do we benchmark students' growth during their college years in these skills, such as critical thinking or teamwork or reading or whatever? And what does that look like? And they created these rubrics. This is the one for critical thinking. And the way that they work is they're developmental rubrics. And so, along the left-hand side, they have the criteria, so explanation of issues, use of evidence, influence of context and assumptions, student's position, conclusions, that kind of thing. And then you actually read them from right to left. So when a student enters college at the benchmark level, in terms of explanation of issues, they should be able to sort of state um, an, an issue uncritically. Then as they move through college, they get more nuanced in their ability to do critical thinking. And then what's useful about this is as an instructor, you can kind of think the assignments that I give, how am I trying to get students to move along these criteria from right to left. So for example, in the use of evidence, am I trying to get them to move from milestone 2, information is taken with some interpretation, but not enough to develop a coherent synthesis, towards benchmark 3, or milestone 3, which is developing a coherent synthesis using evidence, right? It's something that a lot of people try to do, right? So I'll give you an example from an assignment that I do. My training is as a historian. So an assignment that I typically give in an introductory history class, a 100-level history class, is to compare Northern and Southern attitudes in the Dred Scott decision as expressed in newspaper editorials, right? And so, in that criteria, that's about the student's position. I want them to move from the position of stating a simplistic and obvious position to one that acknowledges that there are different sides of the issues, right? They're using newspaper editorials, there's different sides of the issues. However, in an age of AI, one way in which AI might short circuit their learning is a student might just put a bunch of these things into AI and have the AI analyze it for them without them doing the brain work of doing that, right? So I might, to sort of add in AI in a way that maintains the students doing some of that hard intellectual work, and that's developmentally appropriate to a 100-level class, prompt AI to provide contemporary perspectives on the Dred Scott decision, and then compare those contemporary positions to historical positions that were developed in the 1850s, for example. So questions to keep in mind, how can AI support the growth that you seek in the rubric? How can that growth be undermined? And how can you use AI to support growth and avoid pitfalls, right? So where are the ways in which AI could potentially short circuit student learning? And where are the ways in which you can use AI to support student growth that's sort of developmentally appropriate? And if you want to explore more, of course, ATL is a workshop for that. You can scan the QR code and attend that. I can share the rubrics too in the social media wall in the site that Amanda created for this conference. So if you want access to the rubrics, I can share the rubrics there. So thank you all, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Todd. I would love to share Indrani's Mandel. She was unable to make it. She is traveling internationally at this point in time. She did give us a video on.
Hello and welcome. This is Indrani Mandel. I'm an associate teaching professor in the Department of Computer Science and Statistics. And today I'm going to talk about how I use LibreChat to create course content. So I teach an introductory data science course, and it's a 300-level course, and I wanted to create an assignment. So I was taking this professional development course with ATL, and the concept of inquiry-based learning was mentioned. So I was thinking how to incorporate that, how to create an inquiry-based assignment for my data science course. So what I did, I created a new chat in LibreChat, and I said I teach an intro data science course. Here are the learning objectives. So I outlined the learning objectives of my course, and then this is what I got back. It acknowledged that it has understood my course learning objectives and outlined it a little bit nicely. And it talks about the learning objectives here, as you can see: understanding core concept, data collection and pre-processing, data visualization, statistical analytics, predictive modeling, communication of insight, ethical considerations. And this is pretty much what I had mentioned in my learning objectives. So then then my next prompt was, what is query based learning, and how can I implement a query based learning assignment on an exploratory data analysis? Okay, so it taught for a little while, and then this is what it gave me. So query-based learning is an educational approach that emphasizes student active engagement through questioning and inquiry. In this model, students are encouraged to ask questions, investigate, and explore topics to construct their understanding rather than passively receiving information. And then it gave me a breakdown of how to create a query-based learning assignment focused on exploratory data analysis. So it outlines the assignment: choose a data set, define learning objectives, formulate guided questions, and the guided questions are: create a set of open-ended question to guide students' exploration. This question should prompt critical thinking and encourage multiple lines of inquiry. For example, what are the primary variables in the data set? How do different variables correlate with each other? What patterns or trends can be identified in the data? Are there any outliers or missing values in this data set? So these are some of the questions that we discuss in our exploratory data analysis segment. And then the next thing it talks about is encourage student inquiry, and then facilitate exploration and analysis. And it gives me some steps how to do that. That means, I could use Python libraries like pandas and matplotlib for data manipulation and visualization, encourage collaborations, etc. And then guide through the interpretive analysis, present finding, and then eventually provide feedback and reflection. So then I wanted to get something concrete that I could use in the classroom. So I uploaded a data set that I had. It's the Wisconsin breast cancer data set. It's a CSV file, and I uploaded it here. And I said, can you use this data set to create a query-based learning assignment? And sure it could. It outlined the objective and outlined the assignment steps. That means introduction to data, guiding questions, student inquiry, tools and resources, analysis and exploration, interpretation and correlation, and presentation of results. So these were the outline stated above, and was now incorporated into the new data set that I have uploaded. And then I said, can you create a template Jupyter notebook with the above outline? Because then I would be able to use it in class. So then it says, here is a template for a Jupyter notebook to guide students through a query-based learning assignment using the breast cancer data set. Okay, so this is good, but these are code snippets. This is not a ready-made template. So, you can see that these are in pieces. These are all the segments that we have to stitch together, but they are all segmented at this point. So, so then I said, this is wonderful. This is wonderful for me to understand what to do and how to decompose the problem into much smaller problems, and then go ahead and solve it. But can you create a downloadable Jupyter notebook template using the template above? That means, can I have something that I can use right away? So then it says I can't create files directly, but I can provide you with the content of the Jupyter notebook as a text snippet, and then I can then copy this code in a text editor and then rename it as a IPython Jupyter notebook extension. And then I would be able to open it in the Jupyter notebook environment from either Anaconda or Google Colab environment. So then what I did, I copied the code. So I copied the code from here, copy code, and then I saw everything that was there. At the end, it has instructions as to what I could do with it. So copy the JSON content, which I already did, and then open a text editor, such as Notepad, VS Code, etc. So I simply opened Word. Well, this is not Word, this is Google Doc, and I pasted it here. So the JSON content that I had copied from here, I pasted it here. Then I downloaded this as mentioned in the in LibreChat, the instruction was to download this. So I downloaded it as a plain text file, and then I went to my folder, and then I renamed this. And I said, okay, this is going to be not text file, but IPython notebook. So then I have template.ipython notebook. I'm sure there's an easier way to do it, but this is what worked for me today. So then I opened my Google Drive. So I opened my Google Drive and I uploaded this file here. So once I uploaded this here, as you can see, this is template.ipython notebook, which I was able to then open it with Google Colab. Okay, so if you look at this, it takes a little bit of time, but then it recognizes what I'm trying to do. And then you can see that this is a nice notebook that, is very good. It has all the markdown, the code, etc. And these are the starter code that I can use. I can either edit this or present it as is. And then it gives a very nice outline of what the assignment would look like. So this is everything that I created. And this is actually very good. Like the students have the guidance, they have the starter code and all the guidance to go through this assignment. So then I said, can you, I was, so before I did all these things, this was a little bit of thinking that I had to do because I couldn't right away figure out that I was going to use Google Docs. So I was asking, can you give me a link to the online editor? And then it gave me the link to the online editors. And then, is there any text editor in Google Suite? And it said, yes, of course there is. And then there's Google Doc. So that's how I ended up using Google Doc. And it then tells us like how to create the Google Doc and then basically create the template. So what I mentioned eventually. So that's it. So, so this is the entire chat, which I can also share. I can share it with anybody. And this is the end product. Looks pretty nice. Thank you so much. And off to the next presenter.
And speaking of making things available, this is a great opportunity to share that by next week, you can re-enter this platform and be able to get the shareable information that will be posted and recordings that are raw. We will be editing some of the recordings for the future, but the raw conference footage is available to anyone who has registered. So I will post Indrani's video hearing from Julie. Let me bring her. And Julie has also prepared. Yours is entitled Integrating AI Tools, correct?
That's it. All right, great. Everybody can hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, my name is Julie Liddell Thomas, and I'm an assistant teaching professor in the Graduate School of Library and Information Studies, which I will mention is an accelerated online program. So I have 7 weeks to somehow integrate AI tools into my classes. One of the classes that I teach is a foundational course called Introduction to Information Science and Technology. So this class is intended to provide students with an opportunity to explore and discuss various technology tools and trends that impact library and information organizations. And I've noticed over the past couple of years, since I started teaching the class, that students are expressing growing concern about the use of AI technologies in the discussion boards and in other assignments. So this is a listing of the course objectives for the class. So you can kind of see that it's intended to support students in understanding the nature of information and the ethical use of technology to discover and access and share information. So of course, AI fits into this, right? So as the increase of artificial intelligence has occurred to generate information, students are pursuing careers in libraries and information organizations, and they're very concerned with the impact that this information is going to have in their future professions. So I've listed a few of the concerns that I have observed in my classes. Future librarians care deeply about attribution of sources. In general, all of the GS-LIS courses address ethical use of information. But AI tools are presenting some new challenges related to credibility, attribution, equity of access, and other things. I know that AI is becoming more ubiquitous, so even in public libraries, the use of AI is going to come up, and librarians are going to be sort of the front line in working with consumers of this information. I think the School of Library and Information Studies has an obligation to ensure that the graduates are ready to successfully manage these issues as they become real-world practitioners. And this course on information science and technology seems like an appropriate place to introduce students to AI tools and related issues if they have not discovered them already. So I'll point out, a couple of people have mentioned the EDUCAUSE course. That is one of the things that I've done to sort of educate myself. And as I'm beginning to encounter students who have concerns and questions, I have an obligation to become more informed and find a way to integrate AI technologies in my classes in a way that's not only exposing students to it, but also encouraging them to think critically about them and sort of apply their librarian practices to artificial intelligence information, just as they do any other information. So as I thought about how to do this, I asked myself, in what ways can AI tools foster critical thinking and ethical use of information in LIS education? So I decided to do it incrementally. Instead of diving in, I kind of baby stepped my way in. And the way that I've done this is I made some incremental modifications to the existing content in my course. As a first step, I modified a discussion board question that happens in week 7. And it includes now a just for fun optional exercise where they are using ChatGPT. And then I asked students to reflect on the experience. Of course, at the time that I did this, LibreChat wasn't available. So my intention is to now steer them through that interface instead of going directly to ChatGPT. In later sections of the course, I modified a couple of weekly lab assignments to include AI-related activities. And when I added the lab activities, which are graded, I then eliminated the optional exercise that had been in the discussion board question. So this is my first effort. This is the optional discussion board exercise. In the original prompt, students were asked to reread an article from week 1 and analyze the futuristic ideas that were discussed in an article that was written in 1945. In the modified prompt, students are asked to do the same thing, but then they also use ChatGPT to generate a similar analysis. Then students were asked to compare the ChatGPT response to their own and discuss the differences, and then finally reflect on their feelings about using AI-generated information in their learning. So initially, most students did not complete the optional ChatGPT exercise, but over subsequent sections of the class, I found more students participated. I think probably this is because general awareness of ChatGPT had increased over time and more students were curious to try it. And, in spite of the security risks, I think they felt like a class was a safe place to do that. In terms of their reflections, there were a couple of very excited reactions, people who didn't know anything about it and couldn't believe what ChatGPT could do. But in general, student reflections showed kind of mixed or neutral attitudes, with a couple of really passionate negative responses, people that thought it had no place in a class at all. So then this is the example of the next exercise. This is when I created a lab assignment. The initial discussion board, optional exercise didn't have any sort of lesson. It was just dive in and try ChatGPT. When I converted the optional discussion board exercise into a graded lab activity, I decided to incorporate learning materials and teach students how to create effective prompts before asking them to complete the exercise. So after the lesson and the prompt practice, then students were asked to do the same comparison that I discussed previously. But I think because this lab activity was graded, and then possibly because the addition of the lesson kind of helped legitimize the use of ChatGPT, the student reflections were generally more positive about the use of AI tools. I think even reluctant users admitted that they're going to need to learn about AI tools in order to be effective in supporting information seekers in their future careers. So then the third effort was revising an existing lab activity where students had been asked to use Prezi, which is a web-based presentation tool, to create a presentation on a topic. So in the modified version, students are asked to do the same thing, but then they also are asked to go back and use the Create with AI feature that is embedded in Prezi to allow the application to create a presentation based on the same topic. So then, of course, students were asked to compare the two presentations and reflect on their experience using it. I'd say student reflections were generally pretty guarded, but positive. I mean, again, amazed at what it could do. So they were impressed by the capabilities, but also still concerned about replacing their own creative effort with AI-generated context. Like they would do it in some situations, but were concerned about certainly doing it for academic assignments and perhaps even in the workplace without proper disclosure. So in the LSC 508 class, I found that students' experience with technology varies pretty widely. So these exercises are often students' first exposure to consciously using AI tools. Like they're probably using them without knowing it, but this was the first time they have chosen to dive in. And a few things that I've observed by taking this incremental approach to integrating AI tools, the LIS students seem to be especially wary of using AI tools due to valid ethical concerns about information. I mean, that's part of what we do in the program, and it carries over into the AI information as well. The concerns that I identified earlier are pretty closely aligned to the ethical issues that we address throughout the program in other classes. The student comments overall, I think, showed careful evaluation of AI-generated content and pretty thoughtful recommendations for how users should be educated about potential issues. In both of the lab activities, students identified both obvious and subtle differences, and they were mostly able to explain how the shortcomings of the AI-generated content might influence their decision to use these tools in their future careers. In general, I think the students demonstrated a pretty clear understanding of the librarian role in educating users about information produced through AI tools. And overall, I think they have an interest in building their own knowledge so that they can foster development of AI literacies in the communities that they'll be serving. So since this was my goal in integrating AI tools into the course, I feel like these incremental modifications were appropriate in moving in that direction. So I wanted to finish up by talking a little bit about, some opportunities for continuing to further students' understanding of AI tools and their impacts. There are certainly additional courses that could and should address issues surrounding the use of AI. We have a course called Information Ethics and Policy that comes to mind. I don't teach it, and I'm intending to talk to faculty who teach it to make sure that we're all on the same page. As a department, we've begun discussions about how AI topics might be woven through our existing curriculum. And then finally, because the technology is changing pretty much daily, I think it's important for our program to keep abreast of how AI is being addressed in LIS education as a whole. I've got a QR code here that takes you out to the slides and a resource list that I've got. And of course, I'm happy to answer questions later.
Thank you, Julie. All right. We will also be able to post these things shortly. Another session will be starting at 11. I am going to consider ending this at this point in time because we have other sessions starting, and unfortunately, if no one's there, one of them is mine. So there are more questions. We will work at addressing those. And the wall is another great place to put up a question and see if we have the time to respond. Thank you, one and all. I will see you around in the different presentations today.
Thanks.